Well, what's going on, kids? It's that time. It's the sixth round with J Pound. I'm back giving to you my UFC 249 reaction video. Now, if you listen to the video previous to this, got some things wrong, but was right about a couple things as well. So that's the beauty of it, right? That's why we love MMA. You never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. Everything can change with, you know, one hit, one takedown, one submission. It changes at the drop of a hat. So if you like these videos, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be giving you updates, reaction videos, previews for the next few fights that are big pay-per-view events. Obviously, UFC has another event coming on, I believe, Wednesday, and then they followed up with another event on Saturday, all in Jacksonville. I will not be covering those. Pretty much the pay-per-view events, the big pay-per-view events, you'll be getting previews and reaction videos. So let's jump right in. UFC 249. Did it deliver? Yes. Especially the pay-per-view. I think 4 finishes out of the 5 pay-per-view fights. That's impressive. It was so awkward with no crowd. No crowd. Now, we saw this in the Brazil card just before everything got shut down. There was no crowd for that fight. It was definitely awkward. But this just felt even more awkward because it was such an anticipated event. Usually the big UFC anticipated events, you get the big weigh-ins, you get massive crowds, everyone's on edge. It's just nuts. This had much more of an Ultimate Fighter type fight feel, but the fights were anything but Ultimate Fighter level type fights. These were high level, extremely skilled battles, and I'm going to focus pretty much on the main event, co-main event, and our boy Francis. Those 3 fights will be touched. Let's kick it right off with that main event. Wow. This was good. This was a great fight. If you listen to my preview show, I had doubts about Gaethje in the 4th and 5th round, and some may say those are his best rounds, the 4th and 5th rounds. That was surprising. Tony looked like a guy that had either peaked too early as far as his training. Obviously, he's been training for Khabib since November. Supposed to fight April 18th. He knew he was fighting Gaethje a few weeks out of April 18th. Fight gets postponed to May 9th. I mean, that's a long training camp. That is a long, long training camp. And if we know anything about Tony Ferguson, we know he goes hard. So what it looked like is you weren't getting peak Tony. He just looked off. I think you heard Dana White mention it. And he wasn't trying to take anything away from Gaethje, and I'm not either. Because even in on Tony, I think probably loses, but it's a little bit more of a competitive fight. I mean, Gaethje beat him down for 5 rounds. Tony had some success. Tony's big thing was he did drop him at the end of the second round, which was significant. Had there been maybe 10, 15 more seconds, who knows what he could have done, but he dropped him at the very end of the round, and then that was it. Gaethje gave him nothing else. And Gaethje teed off on him with the left hook, the left-right combination, leg kicks. I mean, it was a work of art to watch Gaethje dismantle such a strong fighter, such a talented fighter. Like I said, even Ferguson at peak, I don't know. I don't know if he beats that Gaethje. I don't think he does, actually. What this has shown me is a guy who's always been a fan of Justin Gaethje, and I don't know anyone who's not a fan of Justin Gaethje. The guy leaves it all in the octagon every time he fights. But what it showed me was he has matured as a fighter. Tony Ferguson, who puts a lot of damage on a lot of fighters, did not touch him up hardly much at all. And a guy like Gaethje, who's known for taking damage, his last 3 fights, man, this is a new fighter. This is a new Justin Gaethje. And I think this is the best version, obviously, of him. I think if he were to fight Poirier again, I think he starches him. If he were to fight Eddie again, I think he starches him. So if he fights Khabib next, I don't think he starches Khabib, and I'll talk to you about that in just a second. But let's go back to Tony here. What does this mean for Tony? Was it age? Was it he overtrained? We don't know. We will only get those answers when we see him fight next. Who will he fight next? We don't know. But this was definitely something we'd never seen before. We'd never seen Tony take this kind of punishment for this long without having any type of answer. No answer for it. Gaethje picked him apart and beat him down. From the beginning of round 1 to the very end of the stoppage in the late 5th round, just a beating. Just an absolute beating. And, I want to tip my hat off to Tony because he's been about as good as a fighter can be in a career, over the last 8 years. I mean, this guy has looked unbeatable for a long, long time. He's fought in the best of the best in the toughest division. He's hurt a lot of the top fighters and made them look bad. I mean, this guy made Anthony Pettis, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Edson Barbosa, Rafael Dos Anjos, Kevin Lee. I mean, he made these guys look bad. And those are world-class fighters. So, hats off to Tony. Still a tremendous fighter. But I can't help but to feel a little robbed. We are robbed of that matchup that we all wanted to see. And that was Khabib Nurmagomedov against Tony Ferguson. I don't see how this fight comes together. You could say maybe Gaethje and Khabib fight next. Maybe Gaethje wins that fight. Maybe Khabib and Tony meet up after that. But as I think I heard Luke say on his post-fight show, Luke Thomas of Showtime Digital and Sirius Radio, big fan of Luke Thomas. Shout out Luke Thomas. I think he said, as far as the intrigue and the anticipation for that fight, it's gone. And he's right. It's gone. I mean, would I love to see the fight? Sure, I'll still love to see the fight, but it isn't like it was a couple days ago. A couple days ago, man, there was hardly another fight that I wanted to see as much as that fight. Now, if it happens, it happens, but it's lost. And that is something that, years are going to go by, and that might not be on either one of these guys' resumes. And that's the thing, when you're talking about a division like 155, it's deep, it's talent-rich, but there's certain guys that you have to go through or go against to say, I was the king of that era. Neither one of those guys can say that they had fought the quote-unquote maybe other king of the division at the time when there were two kings of the toughest division, guys running through the weight classes. The only two fighters in that 155 division for that run who had ran through everybody. They never meet. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, let's talk about what's next for Justin. He's got the interim belt, and if anybody watches the UFC, the interim belt doesn't mean shit. Conor sets the game plan. Whatever Conor wants to do, it will get done. Now, early kind of speculation and, signs point to Gaethje and Khabib unifying the belt. And in the meantime, because Conor's already stated he wants a fight, he's ready to fight. Looks like maybe Nate Diaz may be in the mix. You saw the tweeting. There was a tweet from Nate towards Conor. And then there was a reply with Conor saying, sign the contract. Is he inferring that a contract was sent to Diaz for Conor? Nate 3. If he is, that's interesting. I think that makes sense. Because it's hard to give Conor a title shot after he got ran through by Khabib, was out for a long time, comes back at 170 and destroys Cowboy at 170. How does this merit a title shot at 155? Well, maybe it doesn't. But a fight against Nate Diaz, who's going to draw, you're going to make the promotion tons of money, and you're going to have more and more eyes on you. If he starches Nate in an impressive fashion like he did Donald, I think a lot of people are going to be clamoring for another title shot for Conor. I think then it's a little more of an easy sell. Well, hey, look, former baddest motherfucker, belt contender Nate Diaz just got starched by Conor McGregor. Conor should be in that title match, in that title picture. Maybe you could sell that. I don't know. I mean, that's what Dana White and that's what he pays good people to try to sell you that narrative. However, Conor can do whatever he wants. If Conor calls up Dana White tomorrow and says, put me on the next pay-per-view, I want Gaethje. Well, that's the fight. And I'll tell you right now, Gaethje would take that fight. There's not a fighter in the roster at 145, 155, 170 who would not take a Conor McGregor fight at the drop of a hat. It's the money fight. It's the fight you want. It's the fight that means more than anything else. Because in this game of MMA, what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect that bag. Well, in a prize fighting world, the biggest prize in the game is Conor McGregor. Who's turning that down? Nobody. So let's be honest about that. Conor says they want to fight you. If Conor says he wants to fight you, that fight's happening. And guess what? Dana White's going to say, that makes sense. Even though it makes no fucking sense. So let's say Conor says, you know what, I'll take the Nate Diaz fight and say Nate's down. Those two fight. Justin Gaethje and Khabib fight to unify the titles. That makes all the sense in the world. Give the winner of Gaethje, Khabib to Conor should he get through Nate Diaz. Now, how do I think a Gaethje fight would go with Khabib? It'd be interesting. You know, no one tests Justin Gaethje's takedowns. No one tests his takedown defense. I mean, I'm trying to remember, and I'd have to watch some of these fights over, but, I mean, no one tries to take this guy to the ground. And it's crazy because he's so good standing, and he hurts guys standing, but they still just want to slug it out with him. There's legend. You know, you don't know because you've never seen it. No one's ever seen it, but there's legend about how amazing this guy's takedowns are and takedown defense, but you don't ever see it because guys don't shoot on him, and Justin Gaethje ain't shooting on nobody. So maybe it's that good, maybe it's not, but I can tell you one thing. We've seen Khabib Nurmagomedov take down every opponent he's faced and beat them up. We've seen it. We've seen it. What's to say Gaethje's any different? If you were to say, Gaethje's an Olympic gold medalist and, you know, maybe like a caliber of wrestler that Khabib hasn't seen before. But, I mean, you got to remember, this guy practices. He practiced with guys like Kane when Kane was still fighting. Practices with guys like DC. I mean, these guys are much bigger than him. Now, granted, I'm sure I don't know what those wrestling matches are like or whatnot, but these are much bigger guys than Khabib, and he gives them hard times. And DC's an Olympic wrestler. So, to say that Gaethje's going to offer something in the takedown defense aspect that Khabib's never seen, I don't buy it. Now, the real question is not necessarily can Gaethje nullify Khabib's wrestling. That's not even a question to me. I don't think he can. I think he will get taken down. But the question is, can Justin catch Khabib before the takedown? That is the question. Gaethje, pretty good at distance, you know, and maybe there's a reason why guys haven't taken down because they never maybe felt like they had that opportunity to get in a good shot on him. I don't know. But if you notice Gaethje, he doesn't get pressed up against the fence often. He's got good footwork. He's got great reactions. Maybe it's because he's just hard to set up. He's just hard to set up for that takedown. And the question is, can Gaethje crack Khabib in time? Now, we've never seen Khabib seriously hurt, but we've seen Khabib rattled. We've definitely seen him rattled. I think Michael Johnson rattled Khabib. There's been other guys that have rattled Khabib. But we've never seen him, dropped in the octagon. We've never seen him seriously hurt. Now, can Gaethje do that? That is the question. That is the question on how this fight's going to go. Because I'll tell you what, if he does not catch him and Khabib's able to take him down and do what Khabib does, he's going to lose that first round. Then it comes into that second round. Is he going to be able to do it? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with all fighters fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov. He takes you down in that first round. He puts you under that pressure. He beats you up. You become very hesitant to let him take you down in the second again. And all of a sudden, you stop throwing your strikes. You stop throwing, the effective strikes that could eventually keep him from taking you down. You just focus on the takedown defense. And that's what happens. So to say that it's really that first round, can Gaethje defend that takedown? Because if he can't, the second round takedown is going to come easier. The third round takedown is going to come easier. And he's going to get a finish probably somewhere in the fourth or fifth round. Now, I said this before with Tony, but, I truly believe that Khabib is the best fighter on the planet, and I do think his takedowns are unmatched. Nobody's going to be able to stop that. Not Gaethje. Now, can Gaethje connect and hurt Khabib before the takedown? It's possible. That's what we want to see. That's interesting right there, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to. If indeed Khabib is next for Gaethje, hats off to Justin Gaethje. Tremendous performance. You have matured in front of all of our eyes as a fighter, and you are the best version of yourself right here, right now. Let's go to the co-main, okay? This one's a little tough for me because I took a hard stance on Dominic Cruz, showing why he is the best bantamweight of all time. I'm not backing off that statement. He's still the best bantamweight of all time. Now, is he currently the best bantamweight of all time? Probably not. I don't think Dom looked rusty necessarily, but what you saw, and if anybody watches MMA, is the evolution of MMA is so rapid. It's still a very new sport. Better athletes are coming into the sport, learning, doing new things, coming in with better fundamentals. So what you noticed is in a long layoff, over 3-year layoff, the game's gotten better. The game has gotten better. Dom is, in my mind, going to be the best bantamweight champion, and it looks like Henry's not even going to have a chance to try to top him as the best bantamweight of all time because, quote-unquote, Henry's retiring. We'll see about that. But, I mean, the game is just past him. And that could be a little bit due to Dom's age, due to Dom's injuries, or whatnot. But he looked outclassed. He had brief moments of success. I thought in that in the latter part of the fight, he was looking his best. Until he got caught with that knee, he was having a little more success. And it looked like Henry was maybe starting to slow down, which would have been real interesting if he didn't get caught with that knee. Because if indeed Henry was slowing down and Dom can keep up the pace, maybe Dom could pull it out. But it looked like in the early stages, Dom was just a little outclassed. Maybe he was a little rusty. I know he doesn't believe in ring rust, but it looked like every time he went to throw, Henry wasn't there. And then Henry was able to hit him with leg kicks, straight punches down the middle, combinations. He was able to just touch up Cruz without Cruz being able to defend it. Every time Cruz would go to counter, Henry wasn't there. So it was an incredible performance by Henry Cejudo. You got to think that this guy is one of the better lighter weight fighters of all time. Look at his resume. He's got a win over Demetrius Johnson. He's got a win over TJ Dillashaw. He's got a win over Dominic Cruz. Who in those lighter weight classes has those 3 wins or those 3 type caliber wins on their resume? Nobody. This guy beat arguably 3 of the best lightweight fighters of all time. So Henry is without a doubt one of the top lightweight fighters of all time, and he's just getting into his own. This was the best Henry I'd seen in a while. I mean, this is the best Henry I think I've ever seen. The guy gets better every fight. You got to think, when the guy came into the sport, he was just a great wrestler. But then look how quickly he adopted other parts of the game. He got good hands. He got good defense. I mean, remember how Demetrius did him up in the clinch early on in their first title fight? It just smoked him in that clinch. Where have you seen anybody take the clinch to Henry again and do that to him? No, it doesn't happen anymore. The kid just gets better so quickly, so rapidly. Say what you want about his cringe style. The dude can fight. And I still think he's a 125er, but if you can compete against 135s and win and be the champ of that division, by all means, man, do your thing. Because, honestly, people were saying Peter Yan was next. You think Peter Yan beats Cejudo? I don't know. I highly doubt that now. Even though Peter Yan looks like a unstoppable force right now, I don't see him beating this Henry. This Henry is phenomenal. So he talks about retiring. He says he's done. We'll see. I have my doubts about that. But if he does, it's been a great career, man. A way to go out on top. I think he's still getting better. I don't think we've seen the best Henry. I think the fight after this fight, if he were to take one more fight, would probably be the best Henry you see. But we won't know. We won't get to see him. But It's been a pleasure watching him fight. Guy's a tremendous athlete, tremendous fighter, and I it was a pleasure to say that I was able to watch this guy compete against some of the best fighters in the world and look great. So congrats, my man, and I wish you the best in the future. What's next for Dominic Cruz? Whatever he wants to do. If he thinks he can stay healthy and wants to try to get more fights and maybe put together a run, I'd have no problem with that. I mean, the guy's so much of his career has been taken away from him from injury. The guy wants to keep fighting. Keep fighting, bro. I mean, you're not really going to tarnish your legacy. You've cemented your legacy. You were the man. And everybody knows you were the man, and you could have been the man for much longer if there weren't injuries involved, but it's part of the game. But if you truly love fighting, keep fighting. But the thing with Dom is he's so talented. He's a talented analyst. He breaks down fights better than anybody. He's got other options, man. He doesn't have to fight. This guy can do whatever he wants to do, and if he chooses to hang it up, truly a pleasure to watch him compete in this sport for a long, long time. You can say the stoppage was controversial. It kind of was. He was on his way to getting up, but I don't know. I mean, I don't hate the stoppage because it was a brutal knee that he took. But maybe it was a little early, But I can see Dom voicing his frustrations, and he said it himself. It's his fault for taking that knee. He shouldn't have taken that knee to the face, but it would have been nice had they give him a little bit more of a chance to recover. I think he said something like, "I was telling the ref I was good. Let me go out. Like let me go out like that or whatever." Look, the refs put in there to protect the fighters from that kind of attitude. You heard Justin Gaethje say he was ready to die. That's why there's a referee in there, because some of these guys, not all, but some of these guys are serious. They don't want you to stop the fight unless they have to get stretchered out of there. And that's when you need a referee to be like, yo, I got to protect you from your ridiculous self. So let's go ahead and stop this. And better early than late. All these guys right now, you're in that warrior mode, and all you see is yourself as a fighter. But I think once fighting's done and the damage had been accumulated over years and they may have some health issues down the road, I think they'll realize, I'm glad I didn't take any more damage than I had to, because when you got kids, you got a wife, you got all that stuff, and your memory goes, and you get a lot of issues with headaches and just feeling terrible, and you're not able to enjoy the quality of life without medications and all that crap. It's just, at the end of the day, human life is worth way more than a few moments of glory, and that's real talk. So, I know Dom wanted to go out on his shield or whatnot, but like I said, I'd rather be too early than too late. So, Dominic Cruz, hats off to you, brother. Keep your head up. I know you will. Strongest guy mentally in the game. Whatever you want to do next, you've deserved it. You earned it. Good luck. Let's wrap it up here, boys. Francis Ngannou is the truth. That's all you need to know. I'll see you next week. Game over.